Hey everybody, I'm Ryan McCaffrey, lounging poolside here at Summer Game Fest. You can really see I'm all in. I'm with longtime IGN contributor Will. We both had the pleasure of playing Star Wars Galactic Racer, and we both came away mighty impressed. Will, I want to start with your top line thoughts, and then we'll just get a convo going here, because there's actually a lot to talk about with this thing.
Yes, so the big thing for me was the sense of speed, right? Like, the first console game I ever owned was Episode 1 Racer, so that game is near and dear to me. So when you're like doing Racer, I'm like, all right, it's got to feel fast. It has to feel like, the cornering feels good. It has to feel like it belongs in the Star Wars universe. Those tracks have to live up to it. And every time I sat down to play Racer, every time I went to a new track, every time I tried a new vehicle, it all felt right. It all sounded right. It all, when I crashed, it was my fault. When I hit that tight turn perfectly, I did that. It feels incredible in the way a racing game should.
Yeah, for me, we'd heard going into this that it was being worked on by some former developers that worked on Burnout at Criterion. So that right away, like my dog ears went up like okay, now you're speaking my language. And then actually playing it, there are straight up Burnout takedowns in this. Like even the camera angle, like it is exactly the takedown. Like when you either get taken down or take another ship down, it's the same camera angle, which just made me so happy. Now, what was kind of new this week in actually sitting down, because at the last trailer, it's at the SGF showcase, they talked about, they mentioned, mentioning do better on your next run, and we both went, wait a minute, roguelike? Hold on a second, I don't know if that's going to work, but I think we were just talking before we turned the camera on. Turns out the roguelike thing actually totally works with this.
Yeah, I think so. The conceit is that you are qualifying for like the main event of a racing series, right? And so you have to go through these qualifying races to get to the main event, and you are gathering money, you're gathering parts, you're determining how to upgrade whatever you're riding, whether that's a speeder or a bike or whatever else, and you're going through all these different possible, routes, because like any actual racing circuit, like there's going to be a ton of things on the menu, and you probably aren't going to be able to hit all of them. And so you're, I think, limited by like how many times you've been taken down, or if you lose an elimination race, you might actually just be completely cut. But it's a really fascinating way of doing it, and it feels like roguelikes sometimes can feel arbitrary, and it feels like they really baked this into the story and into the way that the game operates.
Yeah, it was pretty cool how it's set up, like you were mentioning there, where you're kind of when you're selecting your next race, sometimes the road forks, and you can do this race or this other race. And yeah, you mentioned the elimination races, where every lap, it's straight out of Burnout. Like the eliminator races, at the end of each lap, the person in last place gets eliminated. And so the first one I went into, which was like the third race I did in the whole thing, I had crashed. I went too aggressive into a turn, crashed, ended up in last place, and by the time I couldn't catch up and got completely knocked out, and I had to start my run over. I was like, oh, the AI in this is actually no joke.
Yeah, it's extremely aggressive. And one thing I really like is that the game also rewards you for being aggressive. Like you mentioned, like you feel that kind of that Burnout legacy when you're playing it. And so you're going after guys, and they're coming after you, and you see a guy, like maybe he's hugging a wall a little bit too close. You're like, all right, I'm going to give you a nudge, right? But they will also do it to you, and they'll do it to you around corners. They'll do it to you like right as the race is about to end. I saw somebody like try to swerve me off the track. Really aggressive, really satisfying. And the other thing is, it feels like when you knock somebody off, like you are legitimately changing the position of the racers on the track. It's not like they're rubber banding and coming back. Like you have changed the race by how you play.
Yeah, and a big part of that, a big part of the progression and the mid-race sort of drama is abilities. The abilities are kind of at the heart of this thing. Certainly your arcade skills, like you mentioned, taking the turn the right way, drifting the right way around a corner, but there are a ton of different abilities in this, which I only saw a few of in this demo, but you've got shields to help protect you from getting taken down. You've got an afterburner that if you leave it on too long, you'll explode, right? So what were the abilities that you encountered and messed with?
So the main one was the ramjet, the one where if you keep it on, you explode. But I found a really cool thing in the roguelike progression where if there was a thing that you could get where if you were in the air, you actually wouldn't heat up. So you're doing it off of a jump and you're holding it for a good 10 seconds because of how high you're going and how fast. But mostly the same ones as you, the shield, the ramjet. There were other options, but like those seem to be the ones that fit with what I was wanting to do, so that's what I stuck with.
And then I think the last piece we can talk about for this demo is pod racing. We got to do pod racing. It was separate. They just threw us into the arcade mode for a quick pod racer race. What were your just top line impressions from your pod racing experience?
The big thing for me was, again, the sense of speed. Like, the other vehicles are fast, the pod racers feel twice as fast. And they tell you, like, you know, you're doing 900 versus 300, 400. And those tight turns in pod races become, like, you might, like, get nudged pretty hard and mess up one of your systems on one of the slower vehicles. In a pod race, you are exploding. And so there's so much more jockeying for position. There's tracks that you only get to see on the pod racers. I got to play as Sebulba, so he has that incredible thing where he can just set stuff on fire around you. So I came off of a jump, got between two guys, activated that, hit them both with the fire. It feels exactly like you want pod racing to feel, and the sound, like the engine sounds, are basically ripped straight out of episode 1.
Yeah, I had basically the exact same experience. I definitely, you're right about how much more delicate the pod racers are compared to the other speeders, because I definitely crashed more in that pod racer race than in the other times. But I managed to. You mentioned the after the sort of flame skill. I also put that to good use, and yeah, managed to come in first by the end of it. So yeah, I'm really impressed by Galactic Racer. I think it's one of my favorite things that I've played so far here. Final thoughts on Galactic Racer?
You know, I really appreciated how much it respects you as a player and how much it expects of you as a player. Like, low-key, one of my favorite things at this SGF has been, I unlocked a trophy for, like, when we did the pod racing, it gives you like a par time that's actually fairly like restrictive, and I actually got to hit it on my last attempt at it. Pop that trophy, I was like, oh, like I'm being rewarded for learning the map. I'm being rewarded for learning these systems and getting familiar with how twitchy this machine is. And it feels right, it sounds right, and when you hit that moment of like, the tension between you and the controller disappears and you're just moving, it's amazing.
Yeah, and multiple paths through each course. There's a lot going on here. We both came away super impressed. So that'll wrap it up. Star Wars Galactic Racer, October 6th, one of the many early fall games we're getting ahead of GTA 6. But keep this one on your radar, because it looks like it's going to be a good one. For Will, I'm Ryan. This is IGN at Summer Game Fest. For more on all things in the world of video games, keep it right here at IGN.